Hey look, it's the Lifeproof Fre for the iPhone X. It's finally here. Do I regret getting it? A little bit. The second question I had was, is it any different than the other Lifeproof Fre cases that I reviewed over the last 5 years? The short answer is not really. The long answer is maybe a little bit, but it's a very personal reason why I think it is different. The biggest face punch is the fact that your screen is still going to look like a pixelated fairy fart. If you're in the market for a waterproof case right now, Lifeproof Fre is probably your best bet, as the other case manufacturers haven't really released their equivalent products just yet. I'll review them as they become available, so depending on when you're watching this video, do check on my website. Basically, you're going to need the Lifeproof Fre if your day-to-day life requires you to use your device when you're out in the elements. The access of the iPhone isn't great, but the Fre is going to keep your iPhone X safe, which is important given how much, well, Apple is charging us for this device. As of right now, I've given the Lifeproof Fre a score of 3.78 out of 5. The score will change as I review more waterproof cases. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to talk about the design, functionality, and protection of the Lifeproof Fre, and I'll end it off with a quick comparison with the Lifeproof Slam and the Lifeproof Next.
Real usage, real reviews. Mobile Reviews A.ca.
At Mobile Reviews A, we base, Monty and I, this little schnoodle, base all our reviews on actual usage. And when it comes to these cases, not only can we, well, do their actual review, we can actually compare with previous generations. And that to me is more interesting than the actual case review now, because I get to see how the design criteria as well as the protection styles have changed over the last few years. Like I think I've reviewed 5-6 different generations of Lifeproof Fres by themselves, which is pretty cool. I don't think anyone else has done that yet. We've done some pretty awful things to Fres over the years, and they've basically become the baseline of all waterproof cases that I review. When it comes to design, the Lifeproof Fre generally looks the same as the iPhone 7 and 8 versions, but shares the most resemblance with the iPhone 6 and 6S versions. The front of the case has a rubbery edge to it, and the back has a textured polycarbonate back. I'm always fooled by the back of the case, as I think it's going to be very slick, but the blend of the whatever materials they use along the back actually keeps the iPhone quite, well, stay stable on a flat surface. It won't slide around easily. Not much has really changed on the inside of the case, as the iPhone X primarily sits in the front part of the case, basically in a rubber bumper, and everything. The waterproof seal comes from the gasket on the back side of the case. In general, I am pleased with how everything fits with the Fre, though that's never really been an issue with previous Fre cases. I will add that the Lifeproof Fre will show wear and tear quicker than a normal case. The plastic screen protector isn't as scratch resistant as a glass screen protector, so the areas where you use the device the most will show a bit of scratching. This issue seems most prevalent on non-iPhone Fre, since iOS doesn't have a swipe unlock features, which requires us to drag whatever grime we have our fingers across the screen, which results in being scratched. With that being said, you'll probably see more scratches, vertical scratches right in the bottom of the case, as well iPhone X users have to swipe up to unlock the device. Overall, the texture of the Fre is quite nice, and it handles well in all circumstances, including when it's wet. When it comes to accessing your iPhone, I do have to say that the iPhone X Fre fares worse than previous generations. Why? Because of gestures. The removal of the home button on the iPhone X means that your fingers spend a lot more time on your screen, and you'll end up noticing that the screen protector doesn't always sit flush on the iPhone X screen. I was unable to find, really noticeable dead spots on the screen, which is kind of a plus, we'll say, but I did notice that certain Force Touch features seemed a little more sensitive than before. The gap is most noticeable at the bottom of the iPhone X. You may notice a reduction in sensitivity around that home gesture area. This wasn't an issue with previous Fre versions because, well, the bottom of the iPhone you didn't do anything there other than push the home button, so one of the reasons why it fares a little worse than previous generations. Now, I'm stating all this as matter of fact as possible, but I'll be honest with you, this might be a deal breaker for some people, and it is kind of for me.
Now, one of the things that was very prevalent with earlier Lifeproof Fres was the rainbowing effect, and this effect still occurs with the newest version of the Fre, but it's really not that noticeable, and it is only noticeable when I decide to put my Lifeproof Fre in my back pocket and I kind of squish it a bit. The screen and the screen protector on the iPhone screen makes a bit of a contact, but it goes away after a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna say it's kind of the same as the last couple generations. It's going to be a non-issue, but if you're really picky, you are going to notice it every once in a while.
Face ID works through the front screen protector with ease, and the cameras on the iPhone X generally, well, aren't affected by the covers on the Fre. You can kind of look at the pot lights in the back. There's a bit more diffusion with the Lifeproof Fre on the camera. When it comes to sound, the Fre for the iPhone X, like its predecessors, ensures that your iPhone will always be heard. On a naked iPhone, covering up the speakers on the device will generally mute the iPhone X.
With the iPhone in the Free, sound reverberates through the entire case, so as long as you don't have it muted, you should be able to hear the device.
Now when it comes to taking phone calls with the iPhone 10 inside the Lifeproof Fre, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. It is very, very bearable, but that is really going to depend on your network. It's also going to depend on whatever case or lack of case that the other person is using on the other line. From all the times that I've taken phone calls, the person on the other side didn't complain about my voice. So that might be enough for some people. It is enough for me because I don't really make that many phone calls. But for people who spend a lot of time on their phones and need a waterproof case, this might not be the best option for you. But I'll be honest with you, every waterproof case I've used over the last 5 years will screw with your voice quality will screw with your phone call quality.
As I said at the beginning of the video, the biggest face punch for the Free is the fact that the screen protector turns your wonderful OLED screen into a pixelated fairy fart. This is a complaint that I've had for every Free up until this point, so I'm guessing that LifeProof has a reason why they won't change the materials in it. I haven't figured out why, but it's become more of a problem than before. Why? Because it really cheapens my iPhone 10 experience. Apple's latest iPhone is stupidly expensive, offensively expensive in fact, but it does have several notable features, with the OLED screen being one of them. If you get the Lifeproof Fre, you're going to notice how crappy your screen is going to look. You've basically paid a premium price for the iPhone 10, you're paying a premium price for this protective case, and at the end of the day, you have a screen that looks like a 7-year-old iPhone. Now, to illustrate this point even further, previous iPhones cost me about $1,000. Usability of my iPhone in the Free, I'll just say it's this bar. With the iPhone 10, the price has gone up quite a bit, while the usability of the iPhone still stays the same. So my perception of Lifeproof Fre is going to be slightly worse because of all the improvements that Apple has made with the iPhone 10, and the Lifeproof Fre doesn't keep up. Now, if protection is your primary concern, this isn't going to matter, but still worth noting.
Now, before I talk about the protection aspect of the Lifeproof Fre, if you're planning on getting a case or anything iPhone related, or basically anything, use my Amazon links. I'll get a small commission. It won't cost you any more, and you'll basically be helping me make more videos in the future.
When it comes to protection, the Lifeproof Fre is now an average protective case. My first Lifeproof Fre for the iPhone 5 would protect the iPhone from a 6-foot drop as well as 6 foot worth of water submersion. Back then, half the cases I reviewed provided only 4 feet worth of drop in water protection. So, I considered the Fre a tank, but now cases are offering 10-foot drop protection and 33 feet worth of water protection. So the protection that the Lifeproof Fre offers your iPhone isn't as substantial as it used to be.
From my perspective, don't get the Lifeproof Fre as a vacation case. If you're looking for a case to capture awesome moments in the ocean, lake, or by the pool, or attached to a GoPro, or you want to use it like a GoPro, go with a hit case or a Pro Shot case instead. Again, I'd only get the Fre if I worked outside all the time. Now, as a side note, I do have to poke fun at some of the marketing fluff. Here's a picture of a snowboarder on the Lifeproof Fre product page. Does anything look off to you? It looks a little off to me. Why? Because why isn't the snowboarder standing by any snow? So what did I do to this Lifeproof Fre? Like all Lifeproof and waterproof products, I did an empty case water test. I filled my sink with 6 inches of water and left my Fre for about 30 minutes. They tell you to do this, and to my surprise, well, my unsurprise, nothing happened. Now, I've never had a Lifeproof Fre fail me out of a box. Even after all the drops that I'm going to show you, I feel very comfortable exposing my iPhone 10 in the Fre to water. Now, despite my comment about the Fre not being a vacation case, Lifeproof has added back the wrist strap attachment point. They got rid of it in the 6 version. So in the off chance that you do plan on going swimming with the Fre, maybe, you can have the iPhone safely attached to you. When it comes to drop protection, the one thing I was curious about was to see if the case stayed together. For the iPhone 6, the Fre cracked at the top. With the iPhone 7 version, the cases came apart after 2 drops, which isn't great. The Lifeproof Next came apart after a couple drops as well, so I was actually expecting the Fre to do the same. It took every drop on the sidewalk in front of my house like a champ. I was honestly surprised to see the Fre stayed together after all the mishaps I had with other Lifeproof cases. Now, I make it sound like that the case not coming apart is an amazing thing. It's not. It's just that my expectations of Lifeproof when it comes to their cases coming apart, it's this low. Every other case is about here, and now that Lifeproof just basically just covered that distance. So the case not coming apart in the context of all these Fres is a win, but then the general context of all the waterproof cases that I've used, well, now it's just the Fre is average.
Now I know I rag on the screen protector a lot on the Free, but it's thick enough that I can easily drop it face first onto whatever rock I want and really not worry about my iPhone getting smashed. All these little things is kind of the reason why I say the LifeProof Fre is my baseline for waterproof cases. It's not bad, but it doesn't stand out. Now, how does the Fre compare against other iPhone 10 cases that LifeProof currently offers? The Slam is marketed to be a tougher than average case that's infused with urban air. The Next is basically a water resistant LifeProof nude. It's definitely hard to compare these cases, but I'm going to try anyways. Between the Fre and the Next offers slightly better water protection than the average slim case. I do like the thicker edges of the case and the ultra smooth back, as it makes for an interesting handling experience. The edges are so wide that they offset the slick back a bit, which is nice. In reality, the LifeProof Next is probably a cousin or closer to the OtterBox Pursuit than the LifeProof Fre. Between these two cases, I would get the Next if you want a unique looking handling case other than the Fre. When it comes to the LifeProof Slam, I wouldn't touch it with a 12-foot pole. It handles worse than the Fre. The buttons are extremely tough, and the clear back on the case will scratch extremely easily. Now, the other case on the Next, the clear back, it's an odd choice by LifeProof incorporating a clear back on a case that's marketed to clearly take a hit. The only saving grace is that the case is relatively thin, but it is wide, but also thin, so if keeping your iPhone 10 thin is, well, a priority, the Slam might be worth getting. Might.
So that's all I got for my review of the LifeProof Fre for the iPhone 10. If you have any questions, leave them down in there in the comment section below. If this is the first time you're watching my videos, I do encourage you to subscribe, as I'm producing lots of different content. I've got the new Spigen cases here. Again, I've got so many USB-C cables, about 12 I think, and there's only one that I would actually recommend, which is kind of crazy because 11 out of 12 fail when it comes to doing stuff on my MacBook. Bunch of Qi chargers, so a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. I know I haven't been posting as much lately, mostly because I've been tired. Anyways, thanks for watching.